Good and blessed morning. Today, in these following few minutes, I want to encourage your faith. Why? Because your faith matters. Because your faith can. Because your faith is needed. Your faith will make you do, imagine, think, dream of things that otherwise will be impossible. Hebrews. We read that without faith, it is impossible to please God. Do you see how much your faith matters? How much it is needed? Today I want to add one more word to your faith. I want to encourage you or challenge you to have a persistent faith. Persistent is when firmly you continue in a course of action in spite of all difficulties or even opposition. Because when you act in faith, that will bring certain opposition. Let me remind you about the persistent faith of this wonderful man. We read about him in the Gospels. His persistent faith even disturbed the crowds. He was blind. He had every reason to let go of his faith and every excuse not even to think about a persistent faith. But his persistency got Jesus' attention, and the outcome, it made him well. I want to read it from you. The Gospel of Luke chapter 18, verses 35 to 42. Hear the word of God. Then it happened as he was coming near Jericho that a certain blind man sat by the road begging. And hearing a multitude passing by, he asked what it meant. So they told him that it was Jesus of Nazareth that was passing by. And he cried out, saying, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. Then those who went before warned him that he should be quiet. But he cried out all the more, saying, Son of David, have mercy on me. So Jesus stood still and commanded him to be brought to him. And when he had come near, he asked him, saying, What do you want me to do for you? He said, Lord, that I may receive my sight. Then Jesus said to him, Okay, receive your sight, because your faith has made you well. And immediately, I love that word, and immediately he received his sight. You know what he did? He followed him, glorifying God. And all the people, when they saw this, gave praise to God. What a wonderful story of a persistent faith. Let me highlight this type of faith. The first thing we hear is that this persistent faith opened his ears to hear when his illness had closed his eyes. Did you hear that? When he heard the multitude passing by, he wanted to know what it meant. So someone who could not see was blind, but this persistent faith opened his ears to hear. And we should learn to do that. We should learn not to be stuck in what we cannot do and explore, have this persistent faith in the things that we can do. Number two, his faith opened his mind. Yes, he could not read, but his mind worked in faith when he heard that the one passing by was Jesus of Nazareth, the one who can do miracles. Third thing, his persistent faith opened his mouth. Even the crowds tried to silence him. It says that he cried out all the more, Son of David, have mercy on me. Next, this persistent faith opened his path. Jesus stood still. What is happening? Who is crying out? He says, commanded him to be brought to him. To see how this persistent faith opened his path to Jesus. Next, his persistent faith opened Jesus' heart. I mean, Jesus asking him, "What do you want me to do for you?" He had touched his heart. He had moved his heart. Now his persistent faith deed made him well. That was the ultimate prize of his persistent faith. Do you see how much your faith matters? Do you see how much more a persistent faith matters? Would you walk with that? Would you act like that? You know, it's not just having faith because this person seems like he was a faithful person. You know, we read in the Word that he was very consistent in being on that road and begging for money. But then when he placed that persistent faith in Jesus Christ, that miracle happened. Faith matters. Faith moves the mountains. One becomes a persistent faith placed in the hands of Jesus. Isn't that amazing that it's available to all of us? My prayer is that you will have I will have this sort of persistent faith, placing it in Jesus and knowing the promise that it will make us well. So be encouraged. Act in this faith, exercise persistent faith, and know that it will move Jesus. God bless you.